you take from other detective units or whatnot, then we wouldn't have anybody investigating sex crimes on children, major frauds, robberies, homicides. So we've depleted those units far enough. We put them out patrol. I hope that you see patrol cars out there, but we are limited. We're running a minimum staffing. Some nights it's on that sheet if you don't have it. There's some nights after 2 a.m. that there's only 4 people on for the entire county.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, that's not good. When I started, the minimum, and I started 35 years ago, minimum was 6 on, or we would have at least 6 or 7 on. Excuse me. So the population has grown, we just haven't kept up. So it shows on there as a brief one. The good news is we are working collaboratively with other entities in the county government and the county council. I'll be making a proposal probably mid to end of March of again, of how many people we need and how to get there. Again, it's not going to be fixed overnight, but we got to get on a pathway. The reason I ran for sheriff is because 2 things: public safety. I love Clark County and I love keeping people safe. And 2 is the people that we work with. I love the people we work with. They have great people. I just heard a compliment when I walked in tonight about some of our deputies. So, but we're running an engine without any oil right now. It's going to break down. So we can only go so long. So there's what you can do on there, and it's not a negative. You can reach out to your county counselor and say, hey, we support the sheriff's office. What can we do to help? Email address in there, but it gives a brief overview of how bad we are compared to other agencies. One thing I'll explain about why Clark County Sheriff's Office is so important. Like the Battleground Chief and I, Dennis Flynn, I don't know if you know him or not, or the Ridgefield Chief, Camus, we're their backup. If Battleground has a big call tonight, or Ridgefield, the Sheriff's Office is going, not Vancouver, because of where they're located at. So our staffing levels affect those other communities too. And so we're kind of all in this together, a community effort. So if you think, what do I care about Battleground Police? Because they're our backup too as well. If we got a call on Yakul or Amboy and it's a big call, they're coming up to help us. So, which is great, but our resources are limited. So that was the main part, was the staffing. I want to say good news is our local academy is in its 3rd class down here. It's in Orchards. It's near the old SDH, or I don't know if it's old SDH. Is it still working or not? I don't know. But 112th Avenue and 49th Street. It's an old Image Elementary. It's great because we don't have to send people to Seattle. We have 8 people in there right now. And we have, just this weekend, we released is in a good sense. We released them off training to be in their own cars. So 5 more people I think 4 or 5 more people this weekend. So we're getting people hired, but we also lose them through retirements and other means too. So we are hiring people, we are getting the academy, but we got to keep up, and we have to have that capacity to have more. So just want to let you know, body worn cameras, I'm wearing one. It's not on right now. This has been phenomenal. It's been great. When we have an incident, a major incident, I put video out there, whether let's say it even doesn't look good for us, right? I'll put it out there within 10 to 14 days, usually on a major incident, if it's a shooting or something like that. Because I said, well, we're going to be transparent with the public. I want you to see what we see. All the deputies love them. I love them. And they show you what happened. Okay. And so good or bad, right? If you get pulled over and you think the deputy's rude, you call in, look at the body worn camera. Yes, he was rude, and we're going to, or she, we're going to handle this, or vice versa. So no, it didn't happen. So it's been great. That program's been great. We all have them, and I wear one too as well. So I just want to say that thank you, because that was passed by the Public Safety Tax. Go ahead, sir.
A question on body cams. Officers, major incident, are they able to review the video footage before they write the report?
Okay.
I'm impressed with that.
Okay. That's a great question. I'll give that answer here. So every agency is different on what the policy is. On a major shooting, or if you're involved in a shooting, I'm pretty sure I got this one now for us, is they are allowed to review their own.
Correct.
And they do. They cannot review others in writing. Same with reports. They can review their own. You don't have a camera on you, and then you watch the camera, you think, wow, that didn't happen. So if you write a report, and this happens in life, right? And it doesn't match. Some people think, well, were they not telling the truth? So they're allowed to review their own. You can't review anybody else's. So that's our policy.
That's a good policy.
So there you go. That's a good question. We've added 3 more canines. I have my computer on right now. I'm looking at the lineup. There's actually 4 canines on tonight, which is great. They help with our drones. There's 10 to 15 drone cars out there, meaning deputies that have drones in their raids that we put up for suspects. We use those probably nightly. Someone goes in the woods with a gun. We don't want to chase them anymore. We don't want to send the dog in there. We put the drone up. Lost people. We find a lot of lost people. We can put them in the attic so we don't have to go in the house anymore. It's been phenomenal, that program. So a lot of safety. Anybody, if you don't subscribe to our Facebook page, you should. Have you seen the Grappler? Anybody know what the Grappler is? You guys seen that? So they came to me a couple years ago. I'll tell you what it is. It's go to our Facebook page. You can watch the videos. It's a front bumper, a special bumper that would go up and it puts out almost like Spider-Man, puts out special web and it wraps around the eluding car's axle and stops them like that. So we're deploying 25 of them. So if you haven't seen them, because pursuits are very dangerous for everybody, the public, everybody involved. We don't want to be in pursuits. They're fun when you're in the pursuit if everything goes right. I'll say that. But really, they're not good. As me being the boss, I don't like pursuits. So go ahead.
If you want to see your Facebook page on YouTube,
Clark County Sheriff's, go to Facebook, Clark County Sheriff's Office, Vancouver, Washington, you can get on there. Yes. And then it's a couple days ago, we put a couple videos out. Go ahead.
talking about the junkyard on 50th Avenue, the junkyard.
I can hear the drunk yard.
The junkyard on 50th Avenue, the burnt house, the drug house.
Which block number? Okay, I will talk to you after I'm done doing this. How about that? Okay. Okay, I will take care of that after this. Real quick, canines, going through it. Again, we need your help with staffing. So, and I appreciate there's a great turnout last night. I've known Kim for a long time. I know she's passionate about this, about neighborhood associations. So I will take a few questions, but I'll do one here a little bit longer. Go ahead, sir.
Just a quick question on staffing. Is it a recruitment issue more so than a money issue?
Oh,
And where's the money coming from?
Okay.
Clark County Sheriff.
Great questions, and I will do them both. It is kind of both. Recruitment, it goes up and down. For a while there, a few years ago, we couldn't get anybody, nobody could get anybody to apply when there was kind of an anti-police law enforcement sentiment around the country. I don't think it was really here in Clark County, but people weren't applying and they felt they weren't supported. When I applied, there was 400 people for like 2 positions. We were clamoring down the door. We're getting people to apply again. It's hard to get good candidates. Last week, we interviewed 12 or 15 candidates for, we have open spots. We didn't select one. And I'll tell you why, because I tell our people, if they're not qualified and not good people, we'll eat it at the end. We'll eat it years down the road. Don't select them. Even though it hurt us not to select that many, we'll do another round this week. So we have to get the correct people. That's the smaller issue. The bigger issue is the money. Okay. So let's just talk about this. Might as well get it out there. Where do you get the money? The county budget, yet if you know anything about it, it doesn't have enough money to fund the amount of people we need. I was hired under a special tax levy. Frank Kanakoa, you remember him, he put it out there in 1986. I was hired in 1989. 30 deputies were hired under a special levy. Yes, it has to go to people to say, you want X amount of people, and this is what it's going to cost. And it's hard because there's a lot of levies, there's a lot of taxes being asked of people. I'm a taxpayer too. I get these ballots, I have to look through them, school taxes, all these things. It's another thing that we're asking the people to do, but it's necessary and it's needed. So I would hope that public safety, when you see it, and now this is my guess, it hasn't been put to the public yet. So I want you to know that. It first has to be, the council has to vote that it goes to the people, then the people will get to decide if they want to have it or not. 3 years ago, the public sales safety tax went through almost 60-40, and that's what funded our body worn cameras and gave us a few extra positions to handle the body worn camera program. It's not an easy program, you have to have it. So that was one that was sent to the people and it passed. But the one for bodies, yes, it will take, for people, it will take a bigger one. So that's a fair question.
Does anybody come from the state for you guys, or is it all?
I actually, okay, you guys are asking me questions here. The state, the governor has promised giving $100 million to local law enforcement. You can go to his website, you can actually just quote, he ran on it. I have sent him a letter every week. I was up in Olympia listening to him. He was 3 feet away from me, our new governor, and said, I'm gonna help local law enforcement who are understaffed. We're the worst in the state. So I wrote them, certified mail. They responded back saying, thank you. I'm supposed, hopefully March 17th, have a meeting with them saying, you gotta get us some help. You gotta get us some bodies. The state wouldn't be able to fund us forever, right? It's temporary, because it's not the state's responsibility. But if you're gonna put 100 million out there, 1 or 2 million towards us is nothing. And so I have requested from the state and our state legislators. I wrote them all. I meet them all. I was up in Olympia on Monday, advocating for this. So that's a good question. But normally it would be the unincorporated. Actually, all of Park County would be voting on a levy if that's put out there. So good questions. Was there any more? Go ahead.
Of the speed controls, I noticed on 119th Street at the top of the hill, speed control went in, showing people their speed. That helped a bunch. But right now, as I understand state laws, you can't have photo of speed controls. Is that true?
You mean photo radar? I don't think it's against state law. I don't think they can use your information on photo stuff. I think there was a law like up in Seattle area when you go on a toll bridge and they do photo and they get your license plate. I may have gotten a ticket one time. It wasn't my fault, but they can't give that to law enforcement. That's a law.
Okay.
Photo radar is a program that I think we've looked into and red light cameras, right? They have them all out in Portland or like Oswego or Beaverton if you haven't been over there. So speed, I was waiting for speeding to come up. Speed is the #1 issue when I go to neighborhood association, and I get it. It always has been. We can do a limited amount. I mean, we can go to an area and work radar and we'll do so much for so long. You want to know who? I'll just be honest. You know who we stop speeding when people complain about speeding in their neighborhoods?
The neighbors.
The neighbors. It's 90%. I'll just say that. It's true. There are people that, hey, that guy's, that 16-year-old. Yeah, maybe, but it's usually the neighborhood. So 119th Street, I'll say this right now, is not good. My parents live off it. And when I go visit them, I'm like, holy crap, I can barely pull out of there sometimes. So the speed, was that a sheriff's office or a public works one put up? Does it have a star on it? Does it show your speed? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Those do bring people's speeds down because sometimes you're driving around and you think, oh, I didn't know I was doing 40, 44, maybe a 35, right? It gets people's attention. They do bring it down temporarily. Is it still up?
It's down now. But my understanding was that you could legally have that photo ID around parks and schools.
You may legally. We don't have that. We don't have that technology right now. It costs you have to have somebody issue the thing. So I'm not. If you're asking me if I'm for or against it, I'm not against it. We just don't have that right now. So we had it years ago. I'm going to say back in the mid '90s, and it was up in old van and stuff like that. But I know they have better technology now. So go ahead.
So, I know you have to answer this gentleman's question, but over here on 88 eastbound, since they put those warehouses in, people are flying, we keep in the houses in our cul-de-sac, you can hear screeching wheels.
Yeah.
So,
Let me do this.
and yeah, we got a sign that
Oh, you got it, Curly?
33 and a 35. That's not slowing these people down.
Some it doesn't. Some of it increases their speed. I'll be honest. What we do sometimes is we have public works go out there. Have you ever seen those strips on the road and they're doing, so they do it. Well, then we mark the speed and see what's happening there. So she's gonna write it down and that goes into your 118th Street about the 5500 block. Am I guessing? Is that what you mean by that place?
88, you said 88 East.
No. This gentleman's the drug.
Yeah.
What was the address?
50th Avenue.
50th Avenue, about 108.
50th Avenue, 108th. I will get it to our people. I'll get it to our special investigations unit and see if they're gonna work, can work it.
We got the drug house there. They haul the guy off to the drug house. They just let him there a day or two and he comes back. And then he brought all these cronies with it. And it's just like a wrecking yard. The rest of the cars in the front yard.
And then, was there code enforcement here tonight? Okay,
Yeah.
so that's right. So, listen, and I'm not putting it all in code enforcement. We work with code enforcement on different issues. There's things that they can do and there's things they can't do. There's things, same with us as well. So I'm not a believer. Oh, you'll get an update. I try to do as much as I can, believe me, and with our resources, because I don't like these issues in neighborhoods, right? I'm not going to call them low end issues. It's not an armed robbery. I get that or something like that. But these are livability issues and they affect everybody. And if you let those things go, it can grow and grow and grow. So we try to get to them. So I can at least, she's gonna get an update of that. I can at least get this address down. And I'm going to actually see some deputies tonight. That's the meeting I have to go to. So
They send out the water department and electrical department, there's 2 deputies that go with them to take care of the workers. Because they're scared of the people inside.
Yeah.
Inside.
And listen, people get arrested for bad things and they do get out the next day. That's a reality of life. And it depends on how the jail capacity, what the bail was, and all these other things, waiting for conviction. I've arrested some really, really bad people, and 3 days later, I'm like, how are these people out? It's unfortunate, but that's our system sometimes. Go ahead, Jeff, question? Yeah, well, I thought it was.
I was gonna ask, does the sheriff's department give any input into, traffic things like, I know that they finally got the roundabout on 99th Street, where you really need it as is 94th Avenue and 88th.
I don't give input. What I normally do is the head of public works and the road department is when I hear those things, and she's already writing it down, it goes to them and they make those decisions. But if we went to a bunch of accidents, or not Ridgefield, Ridgefield, Northwest 41st and 199th is a terrible intersection. And that one should get fixed with something. I take these complaints and I email them and say, hey, here's another one, here's another one. So I'm not the one who actually decides that. They send out engineers and they decide.
But you said give input, right?
I would give input if I had some information to give them. If I go out and go to a neighborhood and say, hey, I was at a neighborhood community and they're saying they have a problem with this.
How
And
many of you have a problem with 94th Avenue and 88th Street? Yeah.
there we go. There'll be an email tomorrow. Oh, I will. So sometimes it takes a few emails, right? Or you get somebody. And again, I try to follow up on everything I possibly can. Okay, I have time just for a few more questions. And I'm going into some others. Tim's giving me the wave here.
And I do want to say, he is very good at following up. We had another one at our last meeting, and I do have to thank you for that. It was a very big issue, and I think you went and visited him the next day.
Oh,
Yeah.
I remember that one. That was about a year ago.
Yeah.
There's the
Anyway.
fish.
Oh, I remember the fish. Yes. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all. And I'll be here for just a few more minutes. I'm going to leave some of my cards on the back table as well. But please grab the staffing, read through it, and we need your help. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you very, very, very much. We appreciate you coming to the meetings. And please, if you do have a question, I know he's really good at answering things, so take his card if you will. He's very good at that, so we do appreciate that. Next, I'm gonna call up from our Parks Department. Oh, are you our last one?
I thought so.
Oh, code enforcement, we must have did code enforcement. Right? Did you want, depends on how you want, what order you want. Well, you had parks after that, but
Okay, well, we can do parks. That might be shorter.
yeah. Sorry, Donna, we're gonna save you to the end. We're gonna have lots of fun. Now, anyway.
Hello, Donna from Chuck.
Did everybody happen to get this handout that was prior? Okay, we need to pass those out. Doesn't have one? Anybody over?
Your Zoomers have it now too.
Sorry, we parks people like PowerPoint and computers. All right, so does everybody have the handout? So this is a presentation that I would have normally given, so since I don't have it on a projector, I'm just gonna go through it. My name is Linde Wallick. I'm a park and trails planner with Clark County Parks and Nature. I've been with the county for about 3.5 years. And in that time, I've been working on Curtin Creek Community Park. So I'm going to talk about Curtin Creek tonight, but I'm also going to talk a little bit about the Parks Department because a lot of times people get us confused and they don't quite know who we are. So I'm going to run through that and then I'll share with you a couple of other parks projects that are near your neighborhood association.
So again, I work for Clark County Parks and Nature. We used to be in a combined park district with the city of Vancouver, which was known as the Vancouver Clark Park District. But somewhere around 2013, 2014, there was a divorce and the city and the county separated from one another. So if you see a park that is outside the city limits of Vancouver, Ridgefield, Yackle, Battleground, most likely that is a Clark County park. We are a division of Public Works, and we operate, we have a couple of different plans that help guide our work. One of those is called a Park Recreation and Open Space Plan. That helps us comply with the comprehensive plan that the county creates for planning throughout the county. That Park Recreation and Open Space Plan helps us assess the needs of the community and puts a strategy together for how we're going to meet those needs. We call them levels of service, and they help us establish goals for reaching those levels of service. We also have a capital improvement plan, which we update. It's a 6-year plan, which we update every year. It takes us about a year to get it done, but that is a list of projects that we are going to work on over the next 6 years. And those are new park development, which includes Curtin Creek Community Park. They include stewardship capital programs, which are where we go into an existing developed park and we make improvements because maybe the park is a little bit older and it needs a refresh, it needs a new shelter, or the restroom building needs to be replaced. We also handle our preventative and major maintenance through that capital plan. It helps us plan our budgeting over that 5 or 6 year period. Parks is funded through several different sources. We are funded through park impact fees, which are fees that developers pay when they develop property for the first time. We are also funded through real estate excise tax, or REIT 2. That's something that we share with our public works cohorts. So that goes to fund transportation and also clean water and parks in your neighborhood. And that's real estate excise tax that's collected when you sell a piece of property within the county, a tax that's collected. In 2005, there was a levy that was approved by voters, and that was called established the Greater Clark Park District. And that included the development of 32 parks, including some community parks. So it's a combination of neighborhood parks and community parks. Curtin Creek Community Park is going to be, I believe, the last community park that's developed as a part of that levy. We also are funded by the general fund. That we are a very small portion of the county's general fund, which is funded through sales tax. We also receive grants from time to time. We apply for grants typically through the state, the Department of Commerce, or through the Recreation and Conservation Office. And so that helps us with our funding streams as well. And sometimes we receive charitable donations. So on page 2 at the bottom, we have typically 4 categories of parks. Sometimes people ask this question, sometimes people don't care. But I'm just going to run through it really quick. And this is identified in our Park Recreation and Open Space Plan, our PROS plan. So the first one is the smallest parks, which are neighborhood parks. And these are generally around 5 acres in size, and they are designed to service an area within a half mile of where they're located. They can typically include like basic recreational elements like play areas, pathways, maybe some lawn space, sport courts, picnic tables, things like that. Some examples in your neighborhood are undeveloped parks that are properties that the county owns but have not been developed yet. One of those is Blueberry Neighborhood Park, which is located, I think, on 117th west of 72nd. And then also Sunset Park, which is behind Sunset Elementary School. So though we have a priority list in the order in which we're going to develop under undeveloped parks, and those are about midway down. We have 17 undeveloped park sites, and so those 2 are both around each other in that priority. I think around 7 or 8.
And let me ask you a question. On those undeveloped parks, does the county ever go in and do any maintenance in there?
Yeah, so they have a lower level of service, so they're usually end up being off-leash dog areas because people walk their pets there.
Okay.
But we do from time to time we'll take garbage bags out there, and people will sometimes fill them up. Sometimes there's neighbors around that help us with that. They usually get mowed a couple of times a year, especially in the fall or the late summer for fire.
Because I know Sunset Park has trees that are down.
Right, and That's a really interesting park. It's got some beautiful madrone trees in it. It's a really special place.
Beautiful.
And we don't get out there as frequently as we do to develop parks, but that's something, Marilee, if you can write, you don't mind making a note, I'll follow up on that.
Which is the part, which is one Sunset, Sunset, okay.
A couple of other neighborhood parks that are developed around here are Lawn Neighborhood Park on 99th Street. That's a good example of what you might expect, or Walnut Grove, which is a little closer to Minnehaha. Community parks like Curtin Creek Community Park are usually around 20 acres in size. Curtin Creek will be a little bit smaller than that at 16. They can go up to around 100 acres in size, and they're designed to service an area within 3 miles. They usually have more organized recreational activities. You might see sports fields, skate parks, pickleball courts, things where you're going to draw people in. And so we have parking at those parks, which typically we do not have at our neighborhood parks. You also find restrooms and sometimes more reservable shelters there than you would in a neighborhood park. We would not put a reservable shelter in a neighborhood park. Examples of community parks are Hawkinson Meadows Community Park and Pacific Community Park. Regional parks are some of our larger parks. These serve residents throughout the county and beyond, so they're drawing people in. They usually have some sort of interesting ecological feature or river that they're next to, something that draws you in. They also can have sports fields, extensive trail systems, and some examples are Louisville Regional Park, which most of you probably know, just north of Battleground, and Salmon Creek Regional Park out towards Salmon Creek, Hazelville area. We also have finally natural areas. These are usually undeveloped. Sometimes you'll find trail systems in there. Sometimes you won't. They're not all open, dependent upon the ecological status and whether or not people should be in those spaces. Some good examples are Salmon and Morgan Creek Natural Area. That's just south of Battleground, I believe, in Brush Prairie. A really special place. If you haven't had a chance to go there, I definitely recommend checking it out. And then there is the Curtin Creek Natural Area in the southern portion, I believe, of your neighborhood association. But right now that I think is a wetland mitigation site. And so most likely the public is not permitted there, but eventually we should be able to. If we go over to page 3, I'll talk a little bit about Curtin Creek Community Park. So this park is accessed off of Northeast 72nd Avenue, just north of 119th Street by the fire station, Vancouver Fire Station number 7. This is a parcel that we that we purchased in conjunction with the city of Vancouver so that they could place the fire station there. And then it's been subdivided through our development process. So the back 2 parcels that you see here are going to be owned by the county or are owned by the county. The middle section there is the part of the park that's going to actually be developed. And then that eastern section is a natural area. It's also part of a wetland restoration project or remediation project. So it's not going to be able to be accessed to the public until there's like a period of time. It's usually around 20 years or so, or when those sites are established where they have to be monitored and people aren't supposed to be in there because they have to be serving a purpose for a while. But once they are, then those 2 parcels should be able to be connected together with trails at that time. The slide below that is just a little bit of the project history. So this has been going on. This project's been in the works for a number of years. It said that the levy was approved in 2005. In 2019, our staff started working on a park plan development. They worked with the community to develop that park plan. It did get put on hold due to COVID, and the council finally approved it in 2021. And then we started working on the actual design development in 2022. Around 2023, we realized because of inflation and everything else that we're all kind of suffering under, that we didn't have enough funds to build the entire park at one time. And so we stopped the design process and decided to work through our phasing of the park development. So there's going to be 2 phases of park development. We're going to build a majority of it in this first phase, and I'll run through the phasing plan in a second. And then the second phase we would anticipate would be, we would start design and permitting on that within 6 to 10 years. So on the next page, number 4, this park is funded through those park impact fees and the real estate excise tax I talked about before, and also through the levy. And it's also, we got a sizable grant from the Recreation and Conservation Office for youth athletic fields and park development. The county is receiving $850,000 to support the development of this park, which is a really nice grant that we've received. In the bottom here, you can see a concept plan that we shared with the community at an open house that we had in March of last year. And you can see the entrance is off on the left side of the drawing off of 72nd Avenue. Once you come out the 72nd Avenue, you're going to enter into a parking area. To the north of that, you'll see two blue boxes at the top. Those are basketball courts with futsal on them. Futsal is kind of like a soccer on a harder surface. And then also there's 4 pickleball courts. To the east, you'll see 2 large athletic fields. They're both going to be a combination of rugby and soccer. These will be they'll be the first rugby fields that the county will have constructed. There's a large rugby contingency that's been in support of this project since the plan was developed in 2019. The southern field will be the first one that's constructed as a part of phase 1, but they would both be synthetic, and the one on the south should have lighting. It may not be constructed as part of the lighting might not be constructed in phase 1, but we're hopeful that it will be. To the west of the northern field, you'll see there's some orange and green colors in there, and that is a large play area. It's a big community space that we've designed. There's a combination of a nature play and accessible play so that people can enjoy the space together. There's a restroom building there with 4 stall toilets, compartments, and a reservable shelter. To the east, out towards the Gaddis wetlands, this way is the trail system, and there's 2 overlooks at the far east side that overlook the Gaddis wetlands. There's one of them, I think the one to the south will have a view of Mount Hood, and the other one to the north will have territorial views, so it should be a really nice space. We go on to page 5, we have the phases that are shown here. Phase 1's at the top, and I know it's kind of hard to see because they're so small. But essentially everything in the park is going to be developed in phase 1, except for the northern field. One of the shelters, the picnic shelters, not the one in the play area, but there's one that's a little further to the west. So that won't be in phase 1, and the parking lot will be a little bit smaller. When phase 2 is developed again, so we would construct that additional multi-purpose field, the additional shelter, which is white on the bottom slide, and then also additional parking spaces. We'd expand that. And a little bit more of a trail, but some of the trails were removed that were around the northern field when it was phased. So on to page 6. So this is the play area, that community play space that I described. On the bottom right, but these numbers are so small. I think it's number 14, I'm going to say down here. That's the restroom building that we're going to have. The reservable shelter is up here. The play area is kind of compartmentalized. You have individual play spaces, so not every kid is just piled on top of other kids in this space. We have swings. We have a large climbing structure that's supposed to fit like 60 kids. You can just give me 1 second. And we have a play slope up at the north end, which will have a huge extra wide slide. We have a little sand area. We have some water play with some pump, and the water will mix in with the sand, so it should be pretty fun.
If you don't know the specifics, it's okay. I was just curious how big those reservable shelters might be.
I believe they're 24 by 36.
Thank you.
And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what I ordered. Yeah. And then they'll be landscaped, and most of the landscape in this area is going to be native natural plants, not all of them, but they're drought tolerant. We had a focus on drought tolerant plants and native plants. I believe up in the front, we're going to have, we have some, it's hard to see here, but there's a lot of times you see stormwater areas where we have to control the stormwater and treat it before it's discharged. And instead of just having a big, ugly area, we're gonna plant canvas bulbs and some organires there and make it, you know, more reflective of what you would have seen if you visited a long time ago. So at the, or what the area naturally looked like before we all moved here. On the bottom, there's some pictures of play equipment that you would expect to see. All of the equipment's not going to look exactly like this, but this is what we were inspired by. You'll see there's a birdhouse climber, there's some nests. There's going to be an art sculpture, and as I said, a large climbing structure. There'll be some logs to climb on and fall off of and all that great stuff. On page 7, we start off with the next steps in our project. So we actually, our project bids came in on Tuesday and we had favorable bids. So we are right now moving forward with reviewing the bidders' qualifications just to make sure all those I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and we hope to move forward into contract negotiation. We do expect to start construction in spring this year. We hope to have a groundbreaking ceremony in April, and we would love it if you all would like to come. I have a sign-in sheet in the back if you're interested in this park, if you're interested in coming to the groundbreaking, or if you're interested in just knowing, you know, some updates as we move along. Please fill that out with your email address, and I'll be in constant contact with you throughout development. But we do again we plan to begin construction in spring of 2025. We hope to complete that by the end of 2025, and we'll open it in the spring of 2026. A lot of times when parks are planted, they're not ready for public access because the trees need to grow roots. So does the grass. The bottom slide here is other park projects. So these are not necessarily in your area, but they're in your neighborhood association, but they're near you. So I thought they might be of interest. Minkler off-leash dog area, I think we call it Lucky off-leash dog area up on Northeast 181st Street in Brush Prairie near KC. I'm sorry, Northeast 149th Street in Brush Prairie near the KC Center. We have 2 new small shelters that are going to be installed in that off-leash area to provide some shelter from the rain and the sun. And then we plan on graveling or re-graveling the trails that are around there. So kind of a little refresh project. And then we have another park plan that we are working on developing, and that's at the Gordy Jolma Family Natural Area that was known as Cedars Golf Course. Up in Brush Prairie, just south of Battleground, and that's connected to that Salmon Morgan Creek natural area that I talked about earlier. We have an open house on April 24th at the Cedars Public House, I believe it's called, right across from the park. And you're all welcome to come there. There's a flyer for it in the back. It'll be from 6 to 8 p.m. So you can see a concept of what we hope to do there and provide feedback. And I'm working on a Parks ADA transition plan. So we have a responsibility to develop or to do a self-evaluation of all the park facilities, identify any barriers to access. And then we need to come up with a plan, a transition plan where we figure out how we're going to overcome those barriers or remove them. This is something that's going to take us a while to do, but we are just now starting the process for that and hope to have all the assessments done by the end of the year. And there'll be a public element to that as well. So if you're interested in that at all, please let me know. We really like to have people help us understand the barriers that they find and not just our own assumptions of what those might be.
We just finished an ADA fishing dock in Woodland, right?
Yeah, in the HAPA boat launch, what is the name of the Pacific Corps? Replaced or installed a new ADA fishing dock or ramp. No, fishing platform at the HAPA boat launch for us. And I think it just opened a couple months ago.
Yes,
it's pretty nice space. On the back page, come and chat with us. So again, we have that groundbreaking ceremony. These are just ways that you can become involved with your parks or have more opportunities to ask us all those hard questions that I'm sure you're saving for me for after this. But we have that groundbreaking ceremony. We don't have a date yet because we just found out for sure we have a project. So once we have that date, we'll post it on the internet. And if you sign up on the sign-in sheet, I'm happy to email you and let you know when that is. April 24th is that open house at Gordy Jolma Natural Area. And then in May and June, we're going to have what we call park play dates, which are kind of earlier in the day, but they'll be at, we'll post up at these in May at Walnut Grove Neighborhood Park and in June at Pacific Community Park. We're gonna bring some lawn games, we'll bring some snacks, and we'll be there with some information on projects that might be of interest to you. And be happy to talk with you and answer any kind of questions you have and have some stuff to keep you or your kids, your grandkids entertained for a little bit. And then at the bottom, there's just some information on how to reach out. There's a QR code, which I'm sure we're all in love with QR codes. If you want to know more about Curtin Creek, that's the QR code for that project page. And all of the drawings that are in here are available there, and they're much larger and easier to read. If you want to talk to me, my email address is right there. Cindy Gonzalez is our volunteer coordinator. If you'd like to help plant some plants at a park, if you'd like to help pick up garbage, things like that. She arranges all of that, not just for parks. She works on streets and other things for public works as well. And then we have a new division manager for Parks and Nature. His name is Ross Hoover, and that's an email address there. If you have some questions about our organization overall or hard-hitting questions that I can't answer for you tonight, you're more than welcome to reach out to him. Yes. Thank you.
I have anything against it, but I'm curious, how was this block of land, which is right now very inaccessible, included into the Curtin Creek neighborhood when, you know, everything below 119th is our neighborhood, and then here's this block that's above 119th. Why was it that in the neighborhood that's above us?
Yeah, I am not sure how those lines were drawn.
Maybe you want to answer that?
Do you know how to?
Fairly, and consider. Go ahead.
When we were drawing the lines, since that area is named Curtin Creek Park, it didn't make sense for us to not include it. So we did include it, and we followed the line of the urban growth boundary, if I recall correctly.
The location of the entrance to drive into the park on 72nd Avenue, it's right immediately south of the fire department. My only concern is regarding traffic lights. There's some significant apartment complexes that are in and are going in, and that's going to create foot and bicycle traffic into the park. And I'm wondering what changes 72nd is going to have.
So I cannot really discuss the improvements to 72nd. I know that there are improvements that are coming. There was a traffic study that was done on the development of the park, and it was determined through that there's not an intersection or a stoplight that's needed there. It's definitely going to be difficult from time to time when you're leaving Curtin Creek Park to make that left-hand turn. I know I already sometimes I have a hard time, especially between 4 and 6 p.m. But I know that there are improvements coming to 72nd Avenue. I'm just not certain when those are, but I think that there's safety and widening with the center turn lane, I think. I don't want to speak out of turn.
Turning sidewalks right
Yes.
now on the west side of the street.
With the development of the, yeah.
Yeah, I see 45 miles an hour in that one area, you get dark and rush hour traffic. Is the park, you mentioned lighting, is it gonna be sufficient enough lighting that people are gonna be nice to get there after dark?
So unless we have to make a final decision on the bids and figure out when we go through all of this process, what everything that's going to be installed. And the last thing that we may elect to install are lights on the field. And that's a pretty good expense. And we have to make sure that we have enough budget left over to, if those lights are installed, then there will be a lighting system installed in the park so that if you're there for a late game, you'll be able to safely make it back to your car. If there's not, then our parks close at dusk. And so there's no, we see, or the code sees that there's not a reason to have lights in the park because we don't want to attract people to a park that's closed. So unless the field lights are installed, there wouldn't be lights installed in the parking lot. But if there are, then you have lights in the walkways and whatnot. And we would,
As is true with every park, eventually, especially dark parks, they're going to be teenager hangouts and maybe worse. And so the lighting, security standpoint is really important.
I understand your concern. But again, if the park is closed, and they also generally have gates on them in the front, so, and that they don't always get closed. But but when we have funding that's available that allows us to go out and open and close every park gate, then they would be closed at dusk, and so it would be more difficult to get in, but you could still walk in.
So there's gonna be a physical gate as far as park traffic.
There will be a physical gate that's constructed. I can't guarantee that it's gonna be open and closed every night because it's the funding and staffing issue.
Why is Sunset Park not considered?
So Sunset Neighborhood Park is part of our priority. So a couple of years ago, we prioritized the development of our 17 undeveloped park sites. We looked at a lot of different factors, especially the ability to develop and return on investment. And we prioritized those, as I said earlier, that one fits around the middle. I think it's around 7 or 8. I can't be sure. So I would assume that not in this next 6-year CIP, but probably in the one that comes out after that, that in 6 to 7 years, we'll start the planning process for that, where we would come out to the public and start asking for what you'd like to see.
So can it not be cleaned up a little bit to tell them?
So I can't say this won't be cleaned up. She brought up that there's some trees down, and I'll follow up with our maintenance staff on that.
Yeah. Well, that's being loud and we're starting that.
Anybody else? Oh, yeah, sorry.
Well, it's my opinion that Parks and Rec probably contribute more to the quality of life in our county than almost anything else. And we've got a growing population of apartment dwellers, 9 to 5 Monday through Friday people. And so it seems to me we really don't have nearly enough park and recreation opportunities. The question I've got is what can be done about trails and parking areas around trails to have some more access, like a trail up the Salachi Prairie Railroad, for example. Be a good outlet, I think.
Right, and our park recreation and open space plan develops our strategy for development of that. And in the past, there hasn't been a specific trails element to that. There is a regional trails plan that's not just for the county. It involves all of the different municipalities within the county. And I believe the Salachi Prairie, what do you call it, rail to trails is a part of that. And that railroad and the trails that are the right of way along the side of that is actually managed by our lands division, not our parks and nature division. It's kind of mind-boggling maybe, but we would work together on development of that when it comes forward. But I can't speak to funding of that.
It's a beautiful trail out to the country and
Yeah.
already utilized.
I understand. And so when we start developing our park recreation open space plan, our next one, we're going to add that trails element to it. And we will be having public meetings, we'll be having surveys, we'll be seeking input from people, and trails are always a big part of that. And you're more than welcome. We'd love to have you participate in that. And if you sign in on our sheet back there, your name's going to end up being probably attached to that park recreation open space plan. You'll know when we start having those conversations.
Thank you, Lee. And I wanted, we got one next one on.
I could talk on.
And we do appreciate it. And remember what Lindy said, get involved, take those surveys, let them know what you really want, because that's the only way they're gonna know. So please sign up if you can, so you can get information on that. So our next person before we get going is Donna. She's from Community Development or Code Enforcement. And I'm gonna let her speak next. I'm sure we'll have lots of questions.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I can be long-winded and it's usually fun conversation, so hopefully we don't stay past my bedtime. My name is Donna Goddard. I've been working for Clark County in the Community Development Department for over 22 years total. I started out in code enforcement. I am the code enforcement manager. I also oversee animal control and I am your fire marshal. So I wear a lot of hats. I have a busy day and I keep myself busy, but I love coming out to the neighborhood meetings. So thank you and trying to let people know what services we provide and what services we don't. Because I do like to try and manage people's expectations as to what we can do for you and what we don't have authority or jurisdiction to do. So I'm going to talk generally a little bit about code enforcement. That's what I was invited here for. And then I'll take some of your questions because I know you have some. So all of the departments that I get to have, manage, are the general fund departments of community development, which means they're taxpayer based. The funding is through the general fund, which is the same fund that the sheriff is paid out of. And you heard him talk about staffing levels. I have the same issue in all of my departments that are general fund. Like I said, I've been working for over 22 years and we haven't had an increase in the staffing levels that entire time. So one of the things that obviously has happened is the population, the growth in Clark County has skyrocketed in that time. So we try and do the best we can with what we have. And so what is code enforcement? Code enforcement is not code enforcement for the whole entire county. I don't do that. We are based out of community development. We look at building code violations, land use and zoning violations, nuisance violations, and critical area wetland habitat grading environmental violations. Nuisance is our most popular.
When you say nuisance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
okay.
just getting that.
Okay.
It's our most popular. It's probably what we get the most complaints about. And this really looks at the visual of people's property. It's the junk. It's the debris. It's the junk cars. It's that. It's the garbage. So we get a lot of those complaints. And
I'd like to get complaints about garbage.
pardon me?
Get complaints about garbage everywhere.
So there's the difference. Yeah, I mean, we do. A lot of the complaints that we get, the health department is the department that enforces against household garbage, but most of the time when you have household garbage, you have a bunch of other violations too. We just wind up kind of taking care of that issue through the code enforcement process anyway. If you were just having somebody with a problem with household garbage, like they don't have it picked up or it's strewn in the street or something, that's technically the health department. But again, we usually will address those issues too. So we get a lot of neighbor to neighbor complaints, and we in various ways. So you can call us, you can go online and file a complaint online, or you can send us an email. You can do that complaint online anonymously. We do take anonymous complaints. A lot of our complaints do come in anonymously. I will tell you, I'll give you a tip. If we can't see it from the public right of way and we get an anonymous complaint, we will close that case because we have no way to follow up. We have nobody to contact because you filed anonymously and we don't have your contact information. And that's fine. When you go to our website and you file a report a neighborhood concern is what it says, there's some really good information that I encourage you to read through about how to file a complaint, if you're going to file anonymously, what our response times are, what our follow-up is and is not. We are not calling you, but you're welcome to call us because we have hundreds of open cases at any given time. And we're out there on a regular inspection schedule, a regular enforcement schedule. And if you want to know a status update on something, you're more than welcome to give us our office a call and we'll be happy to share that with you. Let's see. Examples of zoning complaints would be something built in a setback. Maybe you have a home business that doesn't have a permit. Some home businesses are allowed in residential areas with permits. Some are exempt, and some are not appropriate to conduct in residential areas. So we'll get complaints about that. We'll get complaints about the business noise. We don't have a noise ordinance in Clark County, but we do enforce on what's called the Washington State Administrative Code. It's a minimum noise standard that the Department of Ecology puts out. So we will look at commercial noise. We're not the sheriff. The sheriff handles that, the loud music, the amplified noise. If your neighbors are too loud, you would call the sheriff to report that. We don't come out and do that.
How about chickens in the backyard? Our neighbor, decided they were gonna have some chickens and they had a rooster. And the rooster at 6 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 5 o'clock in the morning, he suddenly decided he was gonna let everybody know where he was at. And, I didn't mind the chickens because they had eggs, but I did mind the rooster. So is there some kind of rule about chickens in the backyard?
It really depends. So I would love to get you more information. So Mayor Lee, if you could maybe remind me to get in touch with him. It's gonna really depend on, like, for example, in the urban growth area, you're not supposed to have a rooster. In the city limits, roosters aren't allowed. There's an exception if you've had one prior to a certain time, although I would think all those roosters would be dead by now. But I'm not exactly sure what the lifespan is, so, anyway, but it could be a problem.
Well, luckily the neighbors moved away.
Oh. I like those, I like when those get close like that.
So I have a question. So when you call code enforcement and you make the complaint, when do you guys take the next step to public safety? So for instance, we have brought up 50th Avenue to you,
Yes.
and that is, at 50th Avenue, you know, has no shoulders. But this household has at least 20 cars this close to the road.
I am very,
And public
yes.
safety, I know you're aware, but public safety, if someone hits one of those cars, they're a goner. I mean, this morning, I'm trying to come home at 8:30 in the morning and they're doing a U-turn and then they're like it's, I don't know, like they live out in the country somewhere, but 50th Avenue is a very busy street. So when do we put public safety first?
Again, to try and be just transparent and manage expectations, but I, code enforcement in community development, have zero authority in the right of way. Okay, so I can't do anything about anything in the right of way. I have no jurisdiction, I have no authority, so that's the sheriff.
And I'm gonna get you on it.
Yep, so it would be, you could call when things are happening, you could call 311. I want to just stop for a second and kind of give you a little bit of an update on the concentrated effort that all the agencies at Clark County are doing, albeit probably not fast enough for the neighbors. And I understand that because, oh boy, I would not want to live near or next to Mr. Frolick.
Anyway, this house has been burnt for a year.
Mhm.
It's been burnt for a year. Have you guys ever been out there?
Yes,
Yeah.
several times.
What has happened?
Okay, so
It's been a year.
I have a story to tell. Let me give you an update.
Thank you.
So going back to the code enforcement process, we're not criminal, we're not sheriffs, we're not law enforcement, we don't have any authority to do anything criminally. The only thing we have is what is a civil process. And what that means is that we rely on people to do the right thing and follow the code when we notify them. This guy doesn't care. We do have people that don't care. And then the way that the enforcement process works is once we've exhausted everything that we can, we issue them an order, we place the order against the property. And then if they fail to follow through with the order, they are penalized a civil penalty, which is a daily penalty. I can't remember what it is in this case, but let's say it's probably around $750 a day for every day that he's in violation. And then that gets filed as a lien against his property. Most people, that works. It works. When you get a lien for $50,000 against your property, most people don't want that to happen. This guy doesn't care. So we recognized that very early on in the enforcement process, and we referred this to the prosecuting attorney. And when I say prosecuting attorney, I mean the civil division of the prosecuting attorney's office. And we have to go through a legal process in order to make something happen there. We cannot just go in and trespass. We cannot just go in and demolish. There has to be, the only person that can give us permission to do that is a court of law, a judge. So the prosecuting attorney's office are in the process of suing the property owner. And, you know, the way that I see this playing out is that he will lose his property. It will be foreclosed on. The county will be stuck with the bill to clean it up, which it's going to cost a lot of your taxpayer dollars. And then we'll have to turn around and sell that property to recoup those costs. That's where I see this going. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know how long it's going to take, but the legal process takes time. And that's what my attorneys have told me.
I've had some experience with this many years ago. The biggest obstacles, we're talking about constitutional protections about property rights.
Right.
So the process to get to the point where a Superior Court judge will issue an order that can be enforced and remedy the situation is problematic because he doesn't care. So that extends the entire process much longer than it otherwise would be, because it puts the state or the county in a position to have to prove every single point before it gets to the Superior Court judge. And then there are those issues, more rare, where people with money don't care and decide to spend it just being jerks.
Yeah, and you know, it is going to take some time, but what the message that I want to share is, please know that your county officials are very well aware of what's happening here, and we are doing everything that we legally can at the moment to resolve the matter. Now,
6 years is a good medium length of time, but this particular issue started at least 5 years ago, so it's winding down.
Well, I sure hope so, because I know that the prosecuting attorney got it in September, so that's October, November, December, January, February, almost March. Have you heard, I mean, are they starting this? Because he is correct. It's not just 1 year old, it's not 2 years old, it just keeps getting worse.
well, I can tell you that code enforcement had it for less than a year.
Wow.
So we only had it for about 9 months before we forwarded it on. So it would have been in 2023 that we received a complaint in our office, late 2023. So we haven't had it, in my opinion. I mean, we've had lots of cases that have gone on longer than that. So for us, while you guys may have been dealing with him and he may have been a terrible neighbor and he may have had some violations, officially, we didn't open a case, we didn't get a complaint. We're complaint generated, by the way. We do not have the ability to drive down the street and pick. I would need 500 more people. And I'd be busy all the time. So we are a complaint generated office. So anything that comes into us to investigate is a complaint. So that's what I can say about that particular case. But we're working on it. Everybody's working on it. I encourage you to write your counselor, let them know it's going to have to come before them to give permission to file a lawsuit. So on
Oh,
the
it will have to go. So you guys, it will have to go in front of council, so make sure you let them know.
and it might go in executive session. I don't know. It's a lawyer thing, but it's in the process.
Yeah.
And I just checked in with our prosecutor last week just to make sure, because I knew I was coming here and I knew somebody was
It
gonna.
would be so bad if we didn't have to drive by. I mean, the guy
Totally.
in the middle of the street, I mean, we're trying to go around his obstacles.
And the sheriff has a role to play here too, and my fire investigators have been called to that site as well. We don't go there without law enforcement support. Nobody does, so it's problematic. We know it. If there's a case for the county to establish an abatement fund, which we currently do not have, which I've been advocating for the last 2 or 3 years, this is a prime example. So,
Yeah. Oh, there's a whole bunch, but like she said, The police have been there many times. It's been going on for 5 years. I think he shot at his neighbor last night when it first started.
He was just in jail. He just got out, I think. He was just in jail for a couple of days. Does anybody have, I know we got sidetracked by this particular case. Does anybody have any general questions about code enforcement or our role or more process or? Everyone, please, I'm sorry, I can't hear her.
Single family residence. And now there's like 4 or 5 businesses. Now the big ones, I understand, the warehouses. Yeah. And there's a shoe sale and there's something else. And it does cause more traffic. Yep. For that street, it's bad now.
Mhm.
How do they get so, are they not applying for?
Without,
Be part of it?
yeah, potentially that could be a violation. I don't know. We'd have to look. If you have a particular address or we can follow up and we can talk more specifically, but residential, single family residence zoning properties, they are allowed to have some level of home business that is either exempt and they don't need a permit. So for example, your tax office, like somebody who wants to just see during tax season and they use a bedroom and they see some folks, a few times a year for taxes, or you're an, Avon representative or something like that. So exempt, we don't review those. And then we have a couple of different, a major and a minor home business where you do certain levels. And it really depends on your lot size, what you're doing, and there's some restrictions, but those require permit review. So
Where can you get a copy of what is allowed?
I can send you some information on home businesses specifically, and I can also point you to the sections of Clark County Code that address that particular issue. So
Can you make sure we do?
Yep.
I'm putting that on.
I just have a general question for everyone. On 88th Street between 72nd Avenue, I think it's 95th. There are some white painted slashes on the road that go for maybe 30, 40 yards, and they're at the east end and at the west end. Anyone know what their purpose is?
Speeding.
They get closer and closer together that give you the illusion that you're going too fast. That's why I'm.
Where are they located again?
They're on 88, yeah.
Well, 72nd.
Right across where the new
Between
warehouse.
72nd and what? And 94.
94, yeah. I thought it had something to do with the warehouses, because there could be a lot of semis coming through that street now. That's all we need.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
One of the things that community development is doing, which is really great, and I encourage all of you to check it out, is it's called the Community Development Learning Lab. So for example, we had a home business learning lab where we took 45 minutes, staff did a presentation about it, and then the public was able to ask questions. So it's sessions once a month on different topics. Code enforcement is a topic. We've had dog bite prevention. We've had wildfire, urban intermix zones. We've had all sorts of different topics. So this is a really great, you can find the library of the past ones that we've done on our website if you want to watch them. They might answer good questions, how to get a building permit. Code enforcement will tell you about code enforcement and how to file complaints, and other good stuff. Again, if you go to clark.wa.gov and then you pick community development, you will see all the things that community development does. And there's a report of concern there, where, like I said, if you want to file a complaint online.
It's a great way to learn how the county does their processes. I have to say, it's very nice.
And we started that last year. Our director, April Firth, came up with a really great idea to do that. And so each department took a month and we did a training, and we're continuing it on. It was popular and good through this year too. So it's good information. We love to have you take a look and use it as a resource, kind of like a resource library.
Yeah, we're good.
We're
Okay.
done. Do I need to be done?
Thank you, Donna. Hey, thank her again, and I do appreciate it. Thank you, Donna.
We have about 10 minutes left. So again, thank everybody that was here. We have Linde, we have Donna, and we have Sheriff Horch here. And of course, Mary Lee, these are all our county representatives. And we do appreciate them coming to these meetings. There's a couple things that you have in front of you. That one of them is if you signed up with your email for the neighborhood association, you'll find something like this that's taped together. And what this is this is what I get from the county. Mary Lee will send me random things once in a while that I think are important for all of us to know as a community. So I will pass those on to you. But also, we all know there's a lot of development and community development going on in our neighborhoods. And what she does give me once a month is that list and where it's at in the system. So I will pass that on to you also, which is a really nice little piece of information. So you know what's happening down at your corner lot if something is happening. So if you do sign up and put your name and email address, I will send them to you. I'm not going to call you with it. But at any time too, that through the system, if you need someone to talk to or you have a problem, you can call me and I'll call Mary Lee. And then Mary Lee will get a hold of you and then we'll do the circle. Or you can call Mary Lee personally and ask her. So either way works. So lastly, we have our voting. I want to see if there's any nominations. Oh, yes.
I have a question. Is there ever going to be a stoplight at the corner of 72nd and 88th Street?
My county representative.
I will find out.
We'll find out for you.
And also the people that go around those parking lots or those warehouse, they turn circles.
Yeah, that's Sheriff Horch will hopefully be on top of that with you guys.
How will we respond with these?
He will respond directly on email. You send Sheriff Horch
You
an
have his
email,
number?
he will send it right back to you.
He's very good at it. I'm just sharing with you. We had a fish issue last time and he took care of it. So, just sharing. Yes. Either any, if there's Kimmy, yeah. Okay, so we have to do this important thing here, guys. So I have to ask, do we have any nominations for president, VP, or secretary besides what we have on our ballot?
The one change on the secretary.
On the one change on the secretary. We got Terry, not Chelsea. Okay. Did I hear someone? Okay. So anyway, if you're all good with that, can I just take or do they need to?
We need to mark it, but we can do it, then we can just do a hand of an acclamation, but we need to have the ballots because you're.
Terry's on here, right here, secretary. Wasn't there somebody else earlier?
Hold on.
I make a motion that we accept the ballot as marked.
What did you say?
That is correct. No one seconded it.
Okay.
No, we had a motion. Okay, all of those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Then we don't.
Okay, so let me introduce you. This is Rick here. You want to tell them a little bit about yourself?
No, Rick's new to this.
Yeah, I'm kind of new to this, but she had me read this or watch the video, Join or Die. And I recommend you watch that video. It's a great video. Personally, I have a master's in educational psychology. I have taught sailing and delivered boats up and down the coast. I worked for the VA Medical Center for 35 years. I retired just a couple years ago. So I love teaching. I work out at, or I volunteer out at the Wildlife Botanical Gardens out at Fresh Prairie. If you've never been out there, it's a great place to take your family. There are 10 beautiful gardens that they'll be blooming soon. We will be passing out mason bee cocoons this weekend for people who've been to the classes. And I maintain the mason bees out there. And if you're interested in mason bees, you need to get a hold of us. We have normally a class there in December about mason bees, and we clean the cocoons And I will be putting them out, some of them, this next Sunday. And then we keep doing that. At the end of April, the gardens have a big plant and tree sale. And at that point, we also sell mason bee cocoons. If you don't know anything about mason bees, they're a native bee. They're not like honeybees, which are imported. They're 10 times better at pollinating than honeybees are. I won't get started now.
No, I heard
And he won't. So anyway, and so on the email there, we will make sure we send out, I will make sure if it's okay, Brig and Terry will send out our email addresses, and I'll send you out my phone number if you need to get a hold of me for any reason. We'll make sure that we have that communication. And this is Terry over here. This is going to be the new secretary.
Thank you.
So
Well, a little bit about yourself.
be afraid.
So I started my career in the governor's office and Secretary of State's office in Arizona. I worked for the first woman governor in Arizona, worked for 5 governors, actually, covered 5 governors. And I worked for Ann McInerney Ogle when she was the chairman of the Vancouver Planning Commission, and Tim led it before her. So I just recently retired from HP as senior executive assistant. Best thing I ever did was to leave. So I'm looking for some things to do, and this seemed to be right up my alley. So that's it about me.
Oh, wait, I gotta say one thing. And
She's a belly dancer. So anyway, so we do have a great group of people, so hopefully we can get this going. I'm hoping to have another meeting, talking to Mary Lee, probably June, July, but I would like to be more of a community and maybe do a picnic somewhere and do those kinds of things. So we can gather as neighbors and community members and really talk about what's interesting and what affects us in this community. And we're a little into a big area, so, okay? Anything else?
Can I ask one thing of everybody? Okay, one of the things that everybody was talking about was traffic management and speed management. And right now, Public Works is working on something that Vancouver has had for a long time, but the county has not had. And that is a neighborhood traffic management program where the neighborhoods would be able to apply for grants to do certain things to address issues in their neighborhood that have speeding or traffic. Speed bumps, redesign of areas, extra signs, different things like that. And we've never had that before. And they would probably be happy to come and talk to you guys at your next meeting about what they're trying to do.
that'd be really good.
All right. So I'm going, any more questions? Don may have a question here.
Well, I was wondering if there's anyone else here that's concerned about the new proposed housing project on 88th Street.
Yeah. On the swamp, one on the swamp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want to put a 88 townhome subdivision on 8608 Northeast 88th Street. The east 1/4 of that is wetland that they want to fill in and put at least 14 units on top of that
And
wetland.
correct there. Yeah, Curtin Creek right there. Yeah. Yeah.
So I wrote a letter to the county, they gave till tomorrow, Thursday. Last Thursday, I guess. Yeah, the 20th, to get comments into the county. And if you'll bear with me a little bit here, I'll just read off what I wrote to the county. Are you able to hear me okay? Okay, well, I wrote down 4 different concerns I had. Concern number 1 was water runoff from 300 to 400 feet of Northeast 88th Street. And the housing project behind my house, this housing project, all drains into a 12-inch diameter pipe that goes down the middle of the street and drains into that wetland.
Without mitigation?
Pardon?
Without mitigation?
I'm sure they're gonna try to get around it somehow.
Mitigation.
Yeah.
Maybe the water.
They don't do anything. Just run it off.
The people that bought that property is Bucky Construction, and they want to put 86 townhomes on it. And most of them are only 20 feet wide, and they're deep, and they're all gonna be 2-story, I'm sure. Anyhow, my concern number 2 is subject property has commonly been known as an ancient Indian ground, as an archaeological dig and form. I'm aware of Indian arrowhead being found in this area. Concern number 3 is what will happen with the majestic old firs and deciduous trees. The only trees addressed in the subdivision plan are oak trees. Concerning the existing firs and deciduous trees, I have a photo. Anyhow, then concern number 4, there's a possibility of 200 or more additional residents in this area. There will no doubt be increase in pedestrian traffic on Northeast 88th Street. There is no sidewalk where Northeast 88th Street crosses Curtin Creek. Since there's only about 3 feet of sloped ground on the edge, from the edge of the blacktop to a 12 to 15 foot drop down into the creek. This is a very dangerous pedestrian crossing. The safe sidewalk over Curtin Creek should be included as a requirement for this project.
So I'm gonna say one thing, like myself, this is how I got involved in the whole neighborhood association in the beginning, because we too had 9 acres that was developed into like a gazillion homes. Fought them very hard, but what I suggest you do, everyone, and Don, this is you too, is find your neighbors, start talking to your neighbors and coming up with a group and start to fight them. You have to let them know how you feel. If you don't let them know how you feel, they don't know how you feel, right? We can complain about it all we want, but if we don't tell them, they don't know. So what my suggestion, Don, would be is whoever lives in that neighborhood, get a hold of Don and start talking to each other first, and then go from there. That's what you have to do, plain and simple. We fought that for 3 years.
Is it called the 88th Street subdivision? I'm trying to find it on,
Did you win?
on the page. There's 3 of them on 88th Street.
Yeah.
That's what it's called? Okay.
This is just, he's referring to the speed bump.
Yeah, the speed bump, good, that's good.
Which is good.
Yeah.
But there will be a notification going out sometime for the April hearing.
Yeah.
And, one of my concerns, I think should be a concern of everybody, is they changed the floodplain like overnight. I know that because I built 7 years ago and the floodplain was a lot different than it is now. And Roski fought this for 4 years.
Right.
And finally got it moved. I mean, they're gonna put these right up against Curtin Creek. So even if you don't live there, live down the way.
It's still gonna affect you. Yeah, all that affects our flooding in our creeks and our water supply. So whatever you guys can do to get together, and that's what I suggest, because we all should be concerned about it. I totally agree. Trust me. This is how I got involved in this whole neighborhood in the beginning 4 years ago. Because it's important to me that our community is not only protected for us, but protected for our water and other things that.
So for those of you that are still on Zoom, I went ahead and put the subdivision up on your screen so that you can see it, of what he's talking about, of what he wrote in a comment to the county.
Okay, and then I have one more, and then we're gonna adjourn. Yes, Jan?
I'm Jan Kelly, and I'm the president of the Friends of Central Maine. Some of you may remember, our group was instrumental in killing the Ninth River project.
Well, a few of you remember. Those of you who don't, we did it in 10 weeks. And that's because the neighbors got together. We formed the Friends of Central Vancouver.
And we were everywhere in the county. We spoke at schools, we spoke at HOAs, we spoke anywhere where there was more than 2 people. When I kid you not, I had 20 minutes to get to someplace, any place. And every time my phone rang and said, do you want to speak about Knife River? I said, you bet, when? And they said, in 20 minutes. I said, I'll be there. Where is there, by the way? And then I called Bill and I go, Bill, you want to meet me there in 20 minutes? And God love him, he said, sure, I'll be there. All right, we made the news. We spoke at county meetings. We got yellow shirts. All right. We came and did a shock and awe with the county. And I think there's people still wondering who we are, where we came from, and what the hell motivated us. All right. This is what you people need to do that live along 88th Street. You need to get together, you need to get organized, you need to get your 3-minute speeches, you need to get to the county, and you need to vocalize. You need to talk to Sherry in the Columbian. You need to make a public note. You need to write letters to the Columbian and to the Reflectors, and don't let up. Do a shock and awe and just get with it, pull your boots up and get your vocal cords lubricated and start talking. Thank you.
And that's Jen Kelly for you. Anyway, so I'm going to adjourn the meeting. I appreciate you all. We're going to stick around if any questions, or if you want to change phone numbers, exchange phone numbers with neighbors. I suggest you do it now, please.
Thank you for hanging in there to the end. Members, I'm gonna go ahead and shut it off because it's gonna get really loud in here with everybody talking to each other. So thanks for joining us for a turn.